Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show.
Welcome to Consulting Leaders Podcast, a place where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, John Degnan. Join me as we talk with our best consultants in their niche. Today, we welcome Jill Hinson, a board advisor, change strategist, the founder of ChangeFusion, where she helps CEOs and boards navigate disruption and lead through complexity. With over 2 decades of experience across Fortune 500 companies and public institutions, she brings a unique lens at the intersection of strategy, human behavior, and systems thinking. In this episode, we're going to explore what leaders consistently get wrong about change and how to build organizations they can adapt. Jill, welcome.
Thanks so much, John. I'm thrilled to be here with you, and I appreciate the time to talk.
Well, likewise. I hear you started your career at Nordstrom's. What was that like?
Oh, it's the best place to work. Perfect place to, as I say, cut your teeth when you are someone who loves to understand how people, individuals, communities, groups work. They have it down in regards to synchronizing and really thinking about the intentional messages that they send and getting your priorities right so that everyone can thrive and do their best. It's a great place to visit and work.
What was your role at Nordstrom's?
I started off in the marketing department. My goal was to be in fashion, and so I spent some time in the fashion as a fashion director. I did some time in advertising and new store openings, so it was a whole host of different roles in the marketing.
And what transitioned you into consulting?
So after Nordstrom, I shifted to Swift, which is a cooperative owned by all the banks. And I shifted from marketing into kind of an internal consultant role. That's also when I went back and got a master's in kind of what I do. And it was only after about 12 years doing internal consulting that I decided to go external. And I really wanted to support more organizations in really how do we build the potential for everyone in an organization. I have a deep belief in human potential and our capacity to adapt. But what I was experiencing and hearing from a lot of my colleagues and friends is that we spend an awful lot of time at work. And sometimes that experience does not bring out the best, right? And organizations can do that and still deliver on results. In fact, what we know by research is that the more the environment allows everyone to be at their best, actually you get better business results. Totally correlated. And so that's really what brought me to consulting.
So you're big on work-life balance then, I imagine.
Yeah, I think there's work-life balance, but for me, it's much more than that. It's, do I have the ability to do work that's meaningful? Do I have the ability to be challenged and grow and learn, right? And sometimes when you're doing something that's growing and learning and it's exhilarating, the hours don't mean as much, right? Because you are contributing to something that's really meaningful. And so for me, it's really about how do leaders and organizations set up an environment that the organization succeeds, but everyone in the organization succeeds.
Got you. Yeah. What got you into consulting specifically in the board and governance level?
Well, so if you think about, kind of my passion, my mission, right? How do we make organizations places where we grow, we thrive, we become abundant in our ability to grow and learn? The board is the highest level where you make decisions You make decisions on strategy and the organization and how we operate. So at the highest level, they're really sending the message around the kind of organization you're going to be. And so for me, that matters. Those messages matter. And how we think about and how we really expand the importance of those decisions and the second and third order implications of all of those decisions.
What specific problem are you helping boards and CEOs solve today?
So I call it an alignment or synchronization. So think about it this way with me. A lot of times organizations, they have a drag or a friction, right? Or they're not quite operating the way the leaders want, but they don't know how to pinpoint what that is, right? What we know is that when change happens either internally or through an external, trigger, the organization needs to align and synchronize to those changes. So often that doesn't happen. And literally it is a resynchronization so that we can be most adaptable. All organizations have a high ability for adaptation. But organizations today are also built around control and predictability. To be successful in the future, we really need to understand how do we amplify our ability to adapt, right? And that means building organizations, systems, operating models that emphasize that and allow that flow to happen.
How open-minded are your clients to adapting? Sometimes it's not easy, is it?
It's interesting. I think that it varies, right? It varies, right? So the first principle of conditions for change is there a drive or a felt need for something to be different? Is there a drive or a felt need for something to be different? If they're talking to me, one of my consultants or consultants out there's a drive, there's a kernel there. Your work is really to help them understand what that is, and the resistance or this piece of how open are they to it. If they feel like it's about them, then they're going to shut down. And it's really never about one person. It's about a system, of the context of how the organization works. And so I think part of our job is helping them understand what dynamics are currently going on and how do we support them in that shift. What are the levers that they can pull and choose to make that shift? And so it's a conversation, right? It's a conversation where you're bringing insights, you're bringing your thoughts, you're understanding your past experience, right? And there's very predictable patterns within organizations that we can help leaders see and understand how to navigate.
Who are your ideal clients today, Jill?
Yeah, great question. I'd say any organization that is navigating change or trying to disrupt or change themselves, right? So there's going to be some element of change within it. Secondly, a leader could be functional or could be CEO or director who is frustrated that things are not moving as quickly as they want, right? There's some level of frustration, right? Because that means there's some optimization that we can help them with. So I'd say that those are the triggers, right, that you think about. Mm-hmm. And we can help organizations, number one, create the conditions for change, or understand how to respond and adapt, learn how to be adaptive in the face of a trigger that's where they need to change. That's, it could be anywhere. It could be healthcare. It could be regulated financial services. It could be technology products. It could be in any of those spaces.
Given the seniority of the people you work with, How do clients typically find you?
Yeah. We've been pretty lucky, and I say lucky, but there's intention behind it. So we've been operating for over 15 years, and mostly referrals and people really knowing that when we partner with an organization, we take a long-term view and we become a partner and build an understanding of the organization with our intention of the leaders and the organization succeeding. So that's our goal. We're never trying to just kind of sell you the latest widget. We're really trying to understand who you are, what the dynamics are, what you're trying to do, and then work with you to co-create that those patterns within the organization. So referrals, word of mouth, great work that gets talked about.
For someone at your level of consulting, what do you think of podcasting as a marketing channel?
I think that consultants and organizations should think about how you want to get your thought leadership out, right? We all have a different perspective, right? There can be lots of consultants in this space, but my organization and my consultants, we have a very particular proprietary way that we're going to approach change based on our education, our experience, our background, and the way we work. So I think what's really important is to think about how do you build your point of view and your thought leadership, and then it's about sharing that.
Okay. When you're dealing with boards and large organizations, sales cycles can be long and complex. How do you build trust and move engagements forward?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. First is your first value is in what I call diagnostic clarity, right? So you've got to listen and ask good questions and help them see something they didn't see or understand, right? Second, it really is about finding the right entry point. Where's the right initial place to start? Where's the right initial project that you can demonstrate your values, your partnership, but also your credibility and your expertise, right? And that doesn't always mean starting with the largest project, but what's the one that you can learn about the organization, show results, and how you're going to partner and work with the organization. And I think the third is truth-telling. So often these leaders have not heard or are aware of some of the realities of the dynamics in their organizations. And maybe people aren't sharing that with them. And so there is a frankness, a clarity that you're going to share with them the truth about what's going on in the organization, but also be there to walk with them and beside them as they shift that.
Can truth-telling be ugly and sometimes uncomfortable for you?
I think it's all based on the intention and how you do it. Like, why are you sharing this information? So you have to be really thoughtful about it. I actually think that it opens up, paradoxically, it opens up incredible conversations. So sure, you have to be comfortable with it and you have to be thoughtful in the way you deliver it, but it's a super important skill for consultants.
How do you retain your clients?
Doing great work, right? One of the things that we have always done in our business, and this probably goes back to, my days at Nordstrom. We are in a client system for the long term, for the long partnership. And so in our early projects, we spend time investing to getting to know people, getting to know the culture, getting to know kind of how they really operate. And then that pays off in dividends because then we become a trusted partner who is there for their success versus trying to just sell you something. So that's always been our way of working with clients. And it leads to continued projects with them. And they think about you. We have some clients that say, we always think about you when we have the difficult stuff. because we know we can trust you. You're gonna be a straight shooter, and you're gonna do the hard work.
Do you ever get stuck on a project?
Stuck? What do you mean by stuck?
What do you mean stuck? You find yourself stuck right now as a consultant working with boards and senior leaders, if any, at all?
I think that, if I'm understanding your question, I think that part of how do we solve really difficult, complex problems, which can feel like you're getting stuck, is actually the part that I find most creative. Humans are not predictable, right? So you can predict macro patterns, but you can never predict individual exactly how one organization's something's going to happen. And so it does take creativity and patience and trying out new things and paying attention. So for me, getting stuck or going down a path and then it didn't end up exactly the way you thought, all that is learning, and it helps you learn how to actually help them even better. So I think I see that slightly different.
Okay. I was reading, go ahead.
I was going to say, we sometimes tell leaders that change isn't really happening until you get to the brawl of change, right? So in organizations, we sometimes like things to be quiet and easy and no noise, but that doesn't mean change is happening. And so when you get to that brawl of change, that's when sometimes that stuckness, right, because it gets noisy and harder than you thought, actually you're just getting going.
How rewarding is it for you when you see that change click?
Oh, it's really fun, and to see both the insight as well as the shift in the environment, and then how that opens up, frees up energy to do things that are even higher value or more important. It's highly rewarding.
I read your website in your bio, and it said that you practice gratitude. Certainly in personal lives, we practice gratitude, and it's a wonderful thing. But how do you apply that to your professional life?
Well, I'm grateful for every one of the really smart leaders that I work with and all of the organizations. And I'm even grateful for the difficulties, right? Because again, that gives us a chance to learn. You go back to that very first principle for me, human potential and our high capacity to adapt, right? For me, I geek out on that. Like, I'm grateful for that opportunity. That's where I'm learning and growing in every single engagement, right? It's a co-creation. And so for me, it's just a part of everything you do.
Awesome. Looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunity for your work in governance, change, and leadership over the next few years?
Yeah. Well, I think the answer would not be complete if we didn't talk about AI and some of the technology disruptions, right? I have a belief that organizations will completely shift in the way they look and feel, and the entire view of what a leader is and the skills that leaders need will shift. So for me, it's an opportunity to think about how do we rewire at the foundational DNA level organizations to create them in a way that brings an environment to thrive. Right? So how do we take this opportunity and make it more abundant? That's versus destruction or a loss. I think that's the really interesting work that we have in front of us.
How do you embrace AI versus being weary of it?
Well, I think first you have to learn and understand it, and really deeply understand what's the humanity. What is it that we bring and that we'll always bring, right? And allow the technology to do the things that took me a long time. okay, so that frees up. Now I have this extra time. I can do the things that only I can do. So for me, I see it from that perspective. The second thing I see is that it's can be completely a white page. So we're starting in a very creative space, and we can think outside of the box. That can be frightening, or it can be an incredible opportunity, which is kind of part of the work I do every day with organizations.
Do you have a recent success story that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'm working with an organization, deeply important mission, and all of the employees are very, very committed to the stewardship of part of the mission. But they'd undergone significant change over the last 4 or 5 years, shift in leaders, shift in kind of their goals. And so, as I said, they were not synchronized, right? So it took a couple of conversations with leaders to get them to see and understand that this wasn't about blame or someone had done something wrong, but literally we needed to help rewire, reset their operating system. And we're in the process of doing that, and it's completely opening up different conversations. Frustrations are down, projects are moving far faster, and the leaders now have the time to spend on more strategic elements and really drive that really big, bold vision that they have.
Okay. Jill, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
So certainly go to our website. So it's www.change-fusion.com, or you can reach out to me directly. We can probably put my email in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll put you in the links in the description for sure.
Yeah.
And Jill, it's wonderful talking to you. You're very insightful.
Excellent. I loved our time. Thanks so much for what you guys do and all of the information you provide to consultants.
Thanks again.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.